So for me, active listening really is part of the acknowledging and attuning to the person's perspective, but particularly attuning. So now here's the 4 A's again. I wanted to just, here we are, attuning. People are very confused sometimes about how do I attune? I think I attune. Do I attune? Well, active listening is one way to attune, but active listening also can be broken down into key skills. So under the umbrella of active listening, I really like to highlight these skills. Mirroring. So mirroring means you say back exactly what the person said, exactly what they said. So a client said to me yesterday, Laura, I don't think I can take much more of this fighting with my husband. I said, wow, you really don't think you could take much more of this fighting with your husband, huh? Yeah, I don't. And I'm really considering divorce. So I'm just reflecting back to her. It's a signal of welcome because I'm listening. I'm showing her I'm listening. I don't just say I'm listening. I don't just say I hear you. I showed her, I heard her. There's her words back to her. It's a sign of welcome because I'm fully present. I didn't just offer her a solution. I'm sending her a signal of welcome because what I signify in that is tell me more, tell me more. I didn't just rush over what she said to fix it. And all I did was mirror. I didn't have to remember anything. I didn't have to think of an answer. I just had to say her words back. I guess I had to remember her words. Yeah. Mirroring. And the key with that is I didn't add my own perspective in. It's all about the other person's perspective. I'm amplifying and highlighting you matter. I see you, but I don't say it. I show it. I hear a lot of coaches, I say to them, how did you actively listening? Especially when we did our coaching with the specialists and the FSAs, I said, how did you signify to them that you were attuned? I told them I heard them. I understand. I see you. That can be helpful for sure. But what's even more important if you show them, you see them. If you show them, you understand. If you show them through the verbal and the nonverbal, yeah. So mirroring is one. Another way is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is restating the essence of what they're saying. So say my client said, I don't know how much more I could take of this fighting. I'm really considering divorce. We've been together 38 years, but I feel like this has run its course. I really feel trapped and don't know what to do. So I can paraphrase and say, it seems like you're really at a turning point here and you're thinking this may be divorce for you after 38 years. You don't know how much more you can take and you're really feeling trapped. Did I get that right? So I paraphrased. I didn't say word for word what she said, but again, I didn't add in anything about what I think, what I believe, what I know. It's still all about the other person. And then there's summarizing. This is what we do most of the time because summarizing can include more of your own point of view, even when you're summarizing another person's perspective. So summarizing in that same example might seem like, I totally get you. It can be so hard when you're fighting and fighting and fighting. You've had 38 years of this. That's a long time. We all struggle when we're in relationships for a long time, don't we? And sometimes we feel trapped and feel like divorce is the only way out. Did I get that right? So in that, can you hear the essence? I'm bringing in a little more of my shared experience, a little bit more about me in there. I didn't say my husband and I fight too. I didn't say my wife and I have difficulties or challenges. I didn't go that far. And that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but be careful with that. There's a difference between joining and hijacking the conversation. And most people don't really know. Hard to tell. Judy's nodding. Thank you, Judy. Judy's like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. I do it too, right? And one of the reasons we do it is the brain is a meaning-making machine. We're going to go back to the brain again, everybody, because we all have a human brain. And the brain, it hears, is associational organ. And once it hears something it can associate to, it wants to tell the other person the story of what we know. But we have to use our minds to overcome that. So when someone's telling me in therapy about their challenges in their relationship, if I'm having challenges in my relationship, my brain's associating. Well, I know how that feels. My wife does that too. My husband does that too. But I don't say it. because it's not about me in that moment, right? So summarizing, paraphrasing, and mirroring are all elements of active listening. And when you're doing this, you're attuning to the other person's perspective, their thoughts, their beliefs, their perceptions, their values. You're listening actively. Now, a fourth one is building upon the person's perspective, and namely through linking. So again, in this example, I'm trying to remember my example, but again, in this example, after I summarize or paraphrase or mirror, I might say, so I'll give an example. So you're having real difficulty with your husband, 38 years, and you've had this ongoing conflict, and you're not really feeling like there's a way out. You're feeling trapped and are considering divorce. I imagine this might make it difficult for you to engage in meaningful conversations with him or find joy. And I said, I imagine, I don't know. I'm trying to link what she's saying, build upon her perspective to bring in broader pieces that might be useful. And she might say, oh no, I can find joy with him. I can have meaningful conversations. But what it does impact is my ability to co-parent with him because we're in such acrimony all the time. So even though I didn't get it right, I invited her to build upon her perspective in that way, right? And linking is just one way to do that. Active listening, actively listening in these ways. And then the fourth one is one I'm super passionate about. And if you've spent any time interacting with me, you might have noticed it. I'm real passionate about validating somebody's perspective, because I know when people are validated, it calms their nervous system. Let me say that again. When you validate someone's perspective, point of view, thoughts, perceptions, beliefs, emotions, when you validate them, not fix them, the nervous system starts to calm down. And if we're coaching from the inside out, we care about that. We care about that other person's nervous system. We care about ours too, right? So validating doesn't mean you agree. And this is another key takeaway. I can validate my husband's perspective even when I don't agree on it. And that's because for him, that's how he's seeing the world. And I'm just validating. That makes sense. No wonder you feel that way. Or you make sense because I hear you saying this. Validating. Not just I hear you saying this. Okay. So these key phrases here I'm going to give you, they're free. Use them widely. That makes sense. To me, those are three of the most magic words on the planet. And they're elegant. You can just leave it there. That makes sense. Just let that absorb. If you came to me with a challenge, Emily comes to me and talks about all the work she has and the challenges she has with work-life balance, which she hasn't. I'm just using Emily because I love her name and I love saying it out loud. So thank you, Emily. She comes to me and says that, and I just say, oof, Emily, that makes sense. Right? And she can feel like, now even more powerful if I summarize, paraphrase, mirror, and then that makes sense. Mind blown. Didn't offer her any solutions. Didn't tell her what to do for work-life balance. Just, you're working really hard. You have the supervisor role. You're trying to do the coaching. You're trying to balance life with your kids. You've got your family. Wow. No wonder. That makes sense.